Kurt and Courtney is a 1998 documentary directed by Nick Broomfield that is largely credited for popularizing the conspiracy theory that Courtney Love in some way played a role in Kurt Cobain's death. And after having its screening pulled 2 days ahead of its premiere at the Sundance Film Festival, as well as her meddling with the production of the film itself,
by the time we got to Seattle, Courtney had heard about it, and already we'd lost part of our funding. I think MTV pulled out. So it sort of became a different film. It became like a film about why someone was trying to stop the film happening.
It gained this reputation as the movie that Courtney doesn't want us to see. The movie that's so raw, no holds bar that no one can watch it. She won't let you. It just cuts that deep, man. The movie that MTV called a parody of rockumentaries and a kind of grunge This Is Spinal Tap. And I guess I should give my take on this whole Courtney Love thing. I have no allegiance to her whatsoever. I am no more of a Courtney Love apologist than I am one for Nick Broomfield. But with conspiracy theories in general, I naturally carry an incredibly agnostic point of view. Could it be true? Yeah. Could it be total shit? Yeah. My life is neither validated nor enhanced by any of these theories being true. That doesn't mean I'm not still interested in these ideas, though. I'm as open to the concept of ancient aliens as much as I am to the concept of time travel. I don't believe it, but it's still cool to think about. So my problems aren't out of my ideology not lining up with that of the films. It's because this movie takes an interesting idea and does nothing with it. Let me break down the plot of Kurt and Courtney. The first third is Nick Broomfield interviewing random people that knew Kurt. The middle is him chasing the rabbit hole of this Courtney Love theory, and the last third is him needing to wrap it up because he ran out of money. I shit you not, that is the plot of this hour-and-a-half prostate exam called a documentary. You see, kids, where a narrative film is mainly defined by its story and actors, a documentary is in the same way only as good as your subject and the people you interview. And the people Nick interviews either don't take him seriously, are trying to sell you something.
This is the galley proof of the book, just to prove that it actually is finished.
And what does it say on the front there?
Kurt Cobain, Beyond Nirvana.
Oh, yeah.
You might get some gloss off the sun, so maybe we should sort of shadow it a little bit.
Or they're straight up high while being interviewed.
Do you think someone else might have killed him?
No, I don't know. I think if he wasn't murdered, he was driven to murdering himself.
Now, it's one thing to have a movie that's constrained by things like budget or powers intervening with it. I mean, this was in the 90s where we saw a slew of young filmmakers who had no choice but to work within these limitations to tell their story. But I guess Nick's strategy was if the movie eats shit, then at least he can spin that in his favor.
Courtney Love has threatened legal action, so I removed the song. Instead, this song is by Kurt's best friend Dylan and his band Earth.
So you clearly had the capabilities to replace the song and provide a voiceover explaining why you did so, when all you needed to do was replace the song and no one would have said anything. I know the technology for independent artists wasn't what it is today, but when you repeatedly stopped the film to bring the most menial post-production bullshit to the forefront of your film,
I had hoped to play the song about a girl over these stills that Tracy had taken of Kurt, but the music is tightly controlled.
Yeah, and editing's hard. This belongs in the DVD commentary, not the movie itself. Really? Do you have so little to work with in a movie about Courtney Love killing Kurt Cobain that you need to pad out time with his friend's music video?
We wanted to find out more about Kurt's last days from Dylan Carlson, who had bought the gun that killed Kurt. This is the pop promo for Dylan's band, Earth.
And this movie's so indie that not only does he have one cameraman, which is a dream come true for editing by the way, but he even has conference calls in the middle of the film talking to the financiers of the fucking film. He is in the middle of filming.
Okay.
Okay.
So who are the appropriate parties?
Well, just our internal, attorneys, business affairs people.
Right.
To make them feel comfortable with, exactly what your angle on the documentary is going to be.
Right.
Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, I should at least point out the one part of this movie I found actually interesting. There's a scene where he's talking to someone who used to do heroin with both Kurt and Courtney, and there's a moment where he asks her why she thinks they were together in the first place.
She just had she's like a little ball of energy, like a name dropper, you know, just gets off on talking so much, kind of sucking the spotlight from everybody else, and he was happy to kind of sit there and, you know, not have anybody pay attention to him. So I think he kind of enjoyed that in her. It was something that he couldn't do to be like a vampire of sorts.
It's a moment that made me actually sit back and rethink their dynamic as a couple in a way that's actually interesting. Instead of just saying, well, opposites attract, it ends up revealing more about both of them as individuals as well as a couple. But while we're on the subject of couples, it doesn't help that the scene preceding this deals with one of Courtney's exes. And boy, is he a showstopper.
How did you and Courtney originally meet?
After we were playing a gig, she came out and just a drink in my face and started screeching out, "Who do you think you are, David Bowie, with all your mock rock star poses and those atrocious green checkered pants? If you ever want to make it, you better lose the green checkered pants and cut out the Rod Stewart and poses and blah, 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 blah." And started giving me this scathing review, and I'm like, who are you? But she did the whole thing in an English accent.
So he takes Nick down to his basement where he has a few mementos from his relationship with Courtney.
This is from the time. This is the me and Courtney stuff. Sort of. A lot of this is the Courtney stuff. Oh, she might want this back. Here we go. Here's how Courtney will make it. Vocal delay box. Gig locally tons. I've got this one list that's so funny where she says, become friends with Michael Stipe. And what does she do? She goes out and does it. I mean, you gotta give her credit for that. I love Courtney. You gotta love Courtney. No, you don't.
Okay, is anyone else bothered by this? Does this not come off as even slightly unethical? I mean, let's be real for a minute. We all know a Courtney. We all know that one person who's batshit nuts for no reason. And if you tried explaining them to someone, no matter how well you knew them, how true to the story you were, or how rational you are in your explanation, you'd still be written off as bitter, insensitive, or even slut-shaming when really that's exactly how it went down.
It was always just over dramatic. It wasn't sincere. It wasn't felt. I mean, you can see with my wife and I, we fight. It goes back and forth, but it's real. With Courtney, it was always, you know, Razorback, it's baby doll. I need a place to lay and sleep.
We all know a Courtney love, but am I still the only one who finds it pretty shitty that they're actually going through her personal belongings like books, photos, and diary entries to be used in the film? And you can say, well, it's stuff she left with him though, but does no one else see a serious problem with this?
And a kinder, gentler Charlie Manson is still fucking Charlie Manson. So don't fuck with me, Courtney. I don't care if you are Jesus and your lawyers are the 12 disciples. Don't fuck with me. If I have to strap on a guitar and get up on stage and take you down myself, I will, because don't fuck with me. I've never crossed you, and you've crossed me now. You didn't give me what was due me. You stole my career. You made me run away from it. You'll get yours. You'll get yours. You'll either be Francis Farmer or you'll be June Cleaver. But I don't care. Just stay away.
What a wonderfully objective point of view on our subject. This movie is actually much more enjoyable if you imagine Nick Broomfield as one of Sacha Baron Cohen's alter egos doing a cringe comedy version of Anchorman. He's this failing journalist, and this is the story that he's sure will pull him back from obscurity, but every turn leads to something that slowly kills whatever hope he has left in him.
You did some deal with Courtney, right?
Yeah. She offered me 50 grand to whack Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, I was telling you this.
She what?
50 grand to whack Kurt Cobain.
And that's a fact, is it? But people might think you're not the most reliable witness.
Well, that's too bad. You may not be the reliable witness your own self. Now think about that one.
Yeah.
Hey, 50 grand does a lot of talking. You buy me a beer, I might do some more talking. Ah!
So you might be wondering who this Nick Broomfield is. Well, believe it or not, the way this movie's presented isn't just his trademark, but he's actually credited as a pioneer of this exact style. He's directed over 30 films, both narrative and documentary, but is best known for his contributions with the latter and applying a gonzo journalism aesthetic to his work, being a notable influence on guys like Michael Moore or Morgan Spurlock. The idea is, instead of going through a series of talking heads, we focus on the subject as well as our director chasing the story and thereby trying to understand our subject, with both stories running concurrently to give us a more candid point of view we otherwise wouldn't get, usually accompanied by a single cameraman and operating his boom mic himself to have as small of a crew as possible. And so the scenes that would normally be unimportant to the film, the failed interviews, the dead ends of the story, are left in for a more raw and unfiltered method. The director essentially becomes an avatar for us as an audience to follow. Nick is so well known for this that he even used it to make commercials for Volkswagen.
They said they want CD player with very smooth eject mechanism.
The way it opens and closes.
Exactly. But they not even play music on it. I don't know why they want it.
Oh, they spilled coffee on it!
But here's the thing. You know why you've heard of those other guys and not Nick? Because for better or worse, they have a personality. Michael Moore, love him or hate him, is a person with his own politics and principles. You know where you stand with him. Morgan Spurlock, he's entertaining. I'm fine following him for a couple hours because he makes it clear what the end goal is. This guy, I get nothing from him. And granted, you don't want to overshadow anyone in your movie, but when you put the spotlight on yourself to that degree and you turn out to be as memorable as a paint sample at Home Depot, you can come across as desperate for attention, which is not good when you're making a movie about the death of an iconic figure in pop culture. But if we're gonna be fair, I will acknowledge that on a good day, this feels like a movie that through a string of mishaps was reduced to what we see here, and is something he's now contractually obligated to put out instead of something he's actually proud of. Not everything hits, people fuck up, and that's just life. But on any other day, it feels like the most hollow cash grab made out of nothing but his own shameless vanity. Because for someone who's been a filmmaker for over 20 years at this point, with as many films as he has under his belt, he shows himself to be just blatantly incompetent. So this is a building in Olympia Kurt used to shoot BBs at from his house right across the street. And so Nick decides to go in and find someone to ask about that.
Hi, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm doing this film about Kurt Cobain, and I heard that he used to fire his rifle at this building.
I'm sorry, sir, but you're not allowed to come in. You'll have to call security.
What?
Are you authorized to be in the building with a camera?
No, it's just a little question. Good grief.
Do you want to shut the camera off, please?
Okay, we can go.
Do you want to turn the camera off?
Okay, we're going.
No, just stay.
Let's go.
Just a minute.
No, we're gonna go now.
Dude, you didn't call ahead of time? Like you walk into a building carrying a boom mic with a headset on and a cameraman directly behind you filming, and she asks if you have an appointment or even a permit to film, you know, a legitimate concern in a state-funded office, and you're just like, what? And for any of you Biggie or Tupac fans, he actually made a movie for them a few years after this one, which is at least watchable if you can tune out every time he pronounces it Tupac.
The story of Biggie and Tupac. Biggie and Tupac. This is Tupac. Tupac's life was complicated. Tupac's mum tightly controls his music and has refused to license it to us. Tupac called himself the Don. Tupac and Suge Knight.
Nice.
I didn't have an angle on the story. I was just trying to find my way through it.
Wait, what?
And it was from this hotel in Los Angeles that the Courtney conspiracy theory started.
Hold the fucking teleprompter! This is the 40-minute mark. We are halfway through your movie, and you've now decided to settle on a plot for us, which, again, we didn't need to know this. You are here in voiceover, plain as day, directly telling your audience that you had no plan. So that 40 minutes we just sat through, all of that is ostensibly useless, and this is the official beginning of your movie. At the midpoint, was none of this thought out when you were re-watching the footage in post? Was this movie edited as you went along? Or are you deliberately stretching this out to the bare minimum of a feature-length film so you can cash in on Kurt's name? This is a fuck you from the lowest rings of hell, and you went out of your way to let us know that. So we're introduced to Tom Grant, a former sheriff, now private investigator, whom Courtney hired to look for Kurt in the days he went missing. And he, as well as Courtney's dipshit dad, strongly alleged that she played some role in his death. And at first you're ambiguous of how you should feel towards him until he presents some compelling factors about their deteriorating marriage.
I think Courtney used Kurt from the beginning. I think she married him for the sole purpose of furthering her career and obtaining some wealth. The fact that they were always fighting, they didn't get along. Courtney had bought a Lexus apparently, and Kurt was really angry about that. He didn't want to be seen in a big fancy car. He finally forced Courtney to take it back. You know, they were constantly fighting over things like that, which goes back to what Dylan was saying about them being totally opposites. You know, Courtney wanted the mansion. Kurt was embarrassed about the mansion. Courtney wanted a big fancy car. Kurt was embarrassed about the big fancy car.
Interesting. Well, we have to go to the source for this, but Courtney's trying to shut down the movie, so what should we do?
Well, as far as you're concerned, you know, you want to find Courtney Love, and she is in a lockout with her band at a rehearsal facility in Hollywood for the next several weeks, preparing for Hull's upcoming tour. It would be quite easy for you to get this question into her, you know.
What about, like, stalking
Well, I mean, we have a specific studio where she is at, where you will be able to find her.
Okay, again, am I the only one that sees a problem with this? Our director is conspiring with members of the paparazzi.
We'll have to be like stalkerazzi, as I like to call these people. We'll have to sit there, wait till she comes out one morning. They're there for 6 hours a day.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stalkerazzi, world of difference. So the guy we're following employs the help of people who call themselves the Stalkerazzi to ambush Courtney for an interview.
And we could always go covert too, you know, don't forget, you know, we could, you know, I could dress as an electrician and a jumpsuit and a work belt and kind of mosey on in there under the guise of some other reason for being there.
I know they say the ends justify the means, and that's a concept that comes up a lot in journalism especially, but this isn't you chasing a story anymore. You are directly reflecting the corrupted institution that tortured the subject of your film, and you're doing it to get to his wife and ask if she killed him. Is this not something Sacha Baron Cohen would have done for a joke? Oh, and not only do we get to see them rehearse this—
Hey, watch you, motherfucker! Courtney, all I want to, just like that, be ready, because she's gonna fucking try to grab that camera. The first thing she's gonna see is that camera.
but we're shown the footage of them in Hull's rehearsal space. Nice.
I can hear her in there. I can hear her in there talking now.
Here's Jack buying soda pop, trying to pluck up courage.
Yeah, that soda's so important it's not in the next shot at all.
And here's Al making his way over to join him. Unfortunately, the battery ran out.
So after Nick hears that the plug has been officially pulled on the project, he decides to give it one more shot and have his crew confront her at the gala for the ACLU. Except
she got
I
mad
thought
about
you were going to ask her finally about, what was it?
What's that?
About El Duce, or about...
So now I'm the guy on the spot now. It's all of a sudden...
Nice. So after unsuccessfully trying to interview her himself, Nick goes for broke and crashes the gala.
I find it a strange decision on the part of the ACLU to choose Courtney Love as a special guest here tonight. And to Courtney Love, I would like to just ask what you feel about your support.
That's the president of the ACLU you can hear shouting.
Is this not something Sacha Baron Cohen would have done for a joke? But at least we get to end it on a more optimistic note with Kurt's aunt.
Mary, using Kurt's life as an example, has devoted herself to teaching in schools about drugs and addiction. She introduces herself with a song dedicated to Kurt.
There is a message of life in this song.
She plays music just like he did and directs her message to teenagers just like he did to properly mediate his legacy and memory and close out the film.
And it's a lot like you and me when we're going through hard things in our lives. And losing Kurt was one of the hardest things I've ever been through in my life, and I'm still going through it. I still cry, still hurt from time to time. missing. And all of us go through painful things in our lives. It's just part of life. Nobody is exempt from pain.
I remembered this footage that Mary had given me of Kurt.
Wow. Really, wow. That was that was something else, Nick. 'Cause I mean, fuck her, right? Like, God forbid someone has the final word on your movie other than you. You know, I mean, fuck a steady transition even. Just do a hard cut to some family video she reminds you of, which I don't know what you were trying to parallel here, but whatever, and do a slow fade out on this shitty, blurry image of him when you had it. You already had a fine ending. It was a good ending. Yeah, at first you go, oh God, she's doing that thing where she talks to teenagers with an acoustic guitar. Oh no, she's one of those people. But she turns it around and you actually feel bad for her. And we have a genuinely human moment in the midst of all this bullshit about he said this, no, she said that, no, he said this. We have a moment, just a moment of someone actually talking about how Kurt affected them and affects them today. And you go, yeah, but what about this footage I have over here of him? You had one job, uno trabajo, and you fucked it up. If letting us know you had no story to tell halfway through the story isn't a fuck you, then not having an ending sure as hell is.
It was a bad experience, and it was great that we managed to get the film out and so on, but not necessarily something I want to revisit.
And this sums up the real problem with the movie. Because when it's over, when it's all said and done, you have a lot to say about Courtney Love. You especially have a lot to say about Nick. But there is nothing to be said about Kurt. In one sentence, that's what's wrong here. That's what's really wrong here. The selling point, the face on the cover, the name that takes up half the title, the emotional core that is meant to drive this 90-minute Frankenstein of footage that disgraces the cutting room floor it belongs on is not felt at any point. You see him, you hear his voice, but his presence is virtually absent. This is not a movie about Kurt or Courtney. This is a movie about Nick Broomfield trying to make a movie. You take away about as much of Kurt's personality from this movie as you do a Superman in Man of Steel. When you make a documentary willing to show the dead ends and the failed interviews, and every beat you hit is a dead end, then you have made a documentary with no facts. And whatever facts do exist are disproven afterwards, sometimes in the movie itself. Remember that one part I said I found interesting? Well, it turns out that girl may not have even known either of them. Yeah, she keeps showing up in the movie because she apparently has photos of the three of them together that her mom is supposed to send her, but Nick finalizes that they never came.
Unfortunately, the photos never arrived.
So she might have just been stringing him along this whole time like he was stringing us all along. She really is the Marla Singer of this movie. Her lie reflected his lie. And even as someone who doesn't buy into this Courtney Love shit, it gets doubly as frustrating when you find other documentaries about Kurt, because even they call it out on its own shit. So Nick met up with Tom Grant again before the end of the film to conclusively decide whether or not Kurt killed himself or if he was murdered.
You talk about a man that had 1.52 milligrams of heroin in his system when the body was found, and the fact that that has never happened in any other recorded case that we've been able to find after researching thousands of cases in several countries around the world. We're talking about evidence indicating it would have been impossible for him to pick up the shotgun. Now, for anybody to just continually say, well, he had a high tolerance level, it's possible he was suicidal, you're just denying and ignoring some real basic facts here.
It's possible that he managed still to operate the shotgun.
Well, it's possible if you believe that it's possible to stand on a rooftop and flap your wings and your arms and fly. Show me a case where it's ever happened before. Well, let's just assume for a second Kurt Cobain was suicidal. You tell me what difference that makes in light of the real evidence of this case. It doesn't matter. Just because a person's suicidal doesn't give somebody the right to kill them. And just because a person may be suicidal, which I don't believe he was, but if he was, that doesn't mean that the police don't have to do a thorough investigation once his body is found.
Tom Grant's assertion that 1.52 milligrams of heroin per liter of blood would have incapacitated Kurt were discounted by Dr. Colin Brewer, formerly director at Westminster Hospital. In any event, Dr. Brewer said it would take 30 seconds to 1 minute for the heroin to circulate and take effect.
There was a documentary made about 1997, I believe, called Kurt and Courtney. I cooperated with the producer and director of that, Nick Broomfield.
He gave us this color slide of a patient balancing easily on one leg who had taken the equivalent of over twice the amount taken by Kurt.
The problem is that this man had taken methadone, not heroin, and he had swallowed the methadone.
And because it's taken orally, it's absorbed much slower. It takes time to get into the blood. So it can take up to an hour or perhaps two before it reaches its highest concentrations. Heroin, on the other hand, injected directly into the vein, is immediately available to circulation, immediately available to the brain.
Comparing oral methadone to intravenous heroin. What's the trite expression? Apples and oranges. It's much worse than apples and oranges. It might be peaches and asparagus that you're comparing. I'm truly amazed that a competent forensic scientist would have made that kind of comparison.
And what kind of...